Can you hear me?
Yes, hi. How's it going?
Good. How are
Oh my
you?
gosh, I'm so excited about your furniture launch. How did it all go?
Well, okay. I'm getting a lot of like people excited for you, which is really, really good. That people are
Oh,
just like,
awesome.
oh, this is super cool. Yeah, I just needed to like connect with the right people. Well, thank you so much, Kelsey. I'm so excited to talk to you today. And first of all, would you mind introduce yourself? Um, what is your experiences, what's your background, and what led you to create your own studio Coming Up Roses?
Yeah, thanks for having me, Claire and Medelier. I'm Kelsey. I'm the founder of Coming Up Roses. I am a brand designer and a website designer. I started in the music industry right out of college and worked in content marketing for about 10 years. So I worked kind of across a lot of festivals, big festivals like Coachella. I worked for a lot of like local shows um, like the Greek Theater and other venues in Los Angeles and national tours like Katy Perry. So I really got this feeling or this education, I guess, around how to connect visuals and language with audiences to create feelings and help people kind of join in and want to come to a concert. Cultivating audiences, I guess, would be like something I really learned from my first career in the music industry. So then when I started Coming Up Roses, it was really uh, I just wanted to be more creative. I had this feeling like I was kind of siloed in my content marketing job as mostly being a marketer, which I loved, but I felt this need to make things and create things because I was always creative. So I just started taking some courses. I took the I Love Creatives course and I took a couple of other courses. And then, yeah, I started Coming Up Roses. So slowly but
That's
surely,
amazing.
I've grown it into a little studio. We work with really amazing brands, creators to bring their brands to life and connect them with audiences. So to bring it full circle back to like music industry background. So yeah.
Amazing. I love your story, and more and more I've noticed a lot of successful, amazing, talented brand designers, graphic designers who are self-taught like you and like Kelsey Wynn. Um, you guys are both kind of learned it stuff on your own and taking maybe you've taken a couple of courses. I know, I think she just like purely like Googled and YouTube and then kind of explored it on her own. And both of you guys are really successful in what you do. And that's really encouraged to hear that you don't, for a lot of people like you, if you want to pivot, if you want to jump a career to a from something that is not absolutely not related to like designing, then you can't do that these days. There's so many resources and there's so many cool like online courses teaching you and they're very affordable. So it's really encouraging to
Exactly.
hear that. And you, because I wouldn't never know whether or not like you've had a graphic design degree or what went to school, but you hadn't. But so you're still
Yeah,
doing
there's so
really,
many
really good.
resources now. You really don't have to go to school for it. I think it's just important to kind of bringing it back to my course, which I'm sure we'll talk about a lot, is finding your own unique perspective and point of view so that you can stand out in this space. I think there is like everyone could do it. It's just a matter of like making sure you know who you are trying to reach, who your audience is, and like what makes you different and like why someone would want to work with you. I think doing that foundational work is so important before you start because a lot of times where people get stuck, I think, in their journey of entrepreneurship, if that's what you want to call it, is this feeling like they can't show up, they don't know what they have to say. And that's a really dangerous place to be because then you're not learning, you're not growing, you're not connecting, and then you don't have a business. So, yeah, doing that foundational work is so important.
Yeah, which is what your course is kind of offering, doing a lot of digging and research, asking yourself a lot of these important questions in order to kind of lay your groundwork for your personal brand or for your brand. I think it's such a critical steps in order to have a successful branding, either for yourself or for your brand. Let's talk about that, because I think first of all, what do you think, what does it mean to have a good branding and this successful branding on your own mean to you?
I think kind of what I said, having a really clear point of view. So knowing what makes you different, knowing what your positioning is, knowing who you're trying to work with and who you're not trying to work with. And then that having that foundation will help you show up consistently. And I love a quote from Seth Godin. It's something like, consistent and persistent stories delivered to an aligned audience will earn attention, trust, and action. So it's like, you could have the most beautiful brand in the world, but if you aren't showing up, if you aren't connecting, then it doesn't matter. It's all the other stuff that really matters. Like visuals and language are what kind of put you out there and connect, but you have to be the one driving the ship. You have to be the one that's showing up persistently and consistently. So it's kind of like a bit of a marrying between the foundational work of positioning and then having really compelling story and compelling visuals that help you show up and connect, because that's what's going to evoke the emotion to get people to, and that's what's going to deliver your messaging and deliver your positioning.
Totally. I love where you said that even if you can have the most beautiful, aesthetically beautiful brand, and that will lead people to open the door. And then whether or not people wanted to stay in your room, that depends on the host, which is you, to delivering the message consistently. That's what will keep the people inside of the room. So I think that it's really, really good where you explained it. And next question will be, I think a lot of people these days are kind of interested in this, how to do, I know myself kind of like still going through how do I separating my personal brand vs my brand, because I have a brand that is, more of a platform where, I invite creators like you to come to my platform and then share knowledge and experiences. So I do love the idea to kind of show my face so people know who is people behind the brand. But and then to be frankly, like my brand is not me. So how do I balance between my brand as Moodelier and to like my personal brand as my name, which is Claire? So and then you did my personal brand refresher recently, which is really cool and exciting. And I've been posting a little bit more. And then one of my goals is to show up as me, Claire, in the world more consistently. So have a stronger, consistent personal brand, as well as, I'm also running a brand, but that's not just me. So what is your recommendation on that? I know it's definitely depends on what type of brand you're running, because a lot of the creators or freelancers, their brand is their face, because it's more of a service providing type of thing, or you have like a thought leader brand and it is really tied into your face, but that's also, it comes really good, it's more relatable, but it's also like you cannot later on, like if you want to hand it over, you can never hand it over your brand to another person because your brand is you. So there's like some pro and cons to that, but I wonder what is your thought on that, if for people who maybe have more of like a personal brand tied into their brand vs people like me who has a brand, maybe it's a product brand that does not necessarily have my face on it. How do you kind of differentiate that, and what is like the crossover? And
it's kind of a case-by-case basis. I think I go over this a lot in the course because it's something that people do get confused by. They're like, but my brand isn't me. But you still have to do that foundational work. So in the course, I kind of recommend people almost do like a method acting as if their brand's like a character.
Mhm.
And I think that that's because at the end of the day, like every brand has a personality, even if it's not an individual, it still like needs to show up in the world as with a voice
Mhm.
and with a tone and with a point of view.
Mhm.
So Moudelier, even though it's not you, it's probably like derived from parts of yourself that
Yeah,
you
totally.
like to amplify through these products. Eventually, maybe it will grow beyond you, and then you'll want to like kind of grow it beyond yourself, but you're still the face of it and you help drive the personality of it.
Mhm.
And so a lot of brands, they'll have a personality, but you just have to like filter it through. If it's not you, just filter it through like who is the personality? Like what would the brand do and say in a room? Like what kind of places that would they go? And I take you through a lot of these exercises um in the Moudelier course. And
Mhm.
then a brand, a personal brand, creators, service providers, those are ones like influencers, they're really being driven by the personality of the individual. So the only real difference is like a personal brand will be you, whereas if you have a brand, you need to like almost create a character for it. It might not be you, but it will have a personality that will connect with people, will have a set of values. It'll have a way of speaking. So think about any of your favorite brands, ones that you're loyal to, like say Girlfriend Collective, like they have a set of values that connect with their customers. Like I don't know who owns Girlfriend Collective. I'm sure there is someone at the helm that's like a bit of a public figure, but
Mhm.
uh I don't think of her as Girlfriend Collective. I think of Girlfriend Collective as their own
Yeah.
personality that I really enjoy and want to, because you're kind of, when you buy into a brand, you're buying into a lifestyle. You're not
Mhm.
just buying the piece of clothing.
Totally. Yeah.
And it's just becoming more and more like that moving forward. So
Mhm.
even if you have like a Moudelier or another brand that you're launching, you need to create a personality for it, even if you want it to be separate from yourself.
Yeah, totally. I absolutely agree that the brand has needs have the personality, the tones, and almost like your brand is not a person, but it needs a soul. It needs like a DNA
Mm,
behind it to support
that's right.
your entire brand. And then but like also on that note, I feel like your brand grows as like a person. It grows with
Hmm.
it changes, it evolves. So I also feel like that could have evolved a little bit, but like what true to your core, that's something maybe it will keep it consistent. But like as the brand grows and then there's things needs to be added, things needs to be developed more, which is a part that later on I feel like you could also have like a brand refresher, that type of thing, like a kind of analyzing your new like maybe you want to branch out the market a little bit. So I think it's okay to involve as a brand.
Of
Doesn't have
course.
to be,
Yeah.
oh, this is like the exactly same thing I'm gonna keep it for the next 5 or 10 years. So
Yeah.
there's no pressure to feel like that when you're starting a brand.
Yeah, no, your brand will change and evolve as you do, as the culture does. I think that's even more of a reason to make it like a living, breathing thing that can change and evolve. But
Mhm.
yeah, like people rebrand all the time. Like how many iterations has Nike had and how many different brands has Nike branched out to as the conversations around like what is like who are athletes and like who can
Mhm.
be part of this conversation has changed. They've really had to change their narrative from like the early 2000s where they were only showing like top athletes to now showing all kinds of bodies. And they did that huge campaign with pregnant women around
Mm,
Mother's Day like a year or so ago. And so brands have to constantly evolve and change the conversation and realign themselves with values
mm.
as the like,
The culture movements and
yeah, as the
yeah,
culture changes, I guess is what I'm
yeah,
trying to say. But it's also important to kind of um choose what you care about and not
yeah,
try to be for
exactly.
everybody, because
Yeah.
like if you are trying to care about the environment and women's issues and all of this stuff, you can get really diluted. Like
Mhm.
focus, that's where your audience will really come in. you know, think about what they
Yeah.
care about and hone in on those as your core values. You can care about other things, of course, but I think I talk about this a lot in the course too, like choosing a couple core values and really creating content around that is going to help you kind of niche and connect with your audience. Because really you don't need a massive audience, even Moodelier, like it's for a very specific kind of person, like someone who's like super minimal, probably isn't going to buy like super colorful wavy furniture,
Totally.
but like someone like me is like, hell yeah, I love color and like I love fun shapes and like this is what I want in my house. So yeah, just getting specific about your avatar and the kind of people you're
Yeah.
trying to reach.
I love that. I love that what you said. I've heard the same thing. People says that if you're trying to be everybody and then you nobody,
Yeah.
because that's just the reality. Like you need that. That's why we need the branding, because you're not trying to be everybody. Otherwise, you don't need the
Yeah.
branding.
I use this example in the course, like Fox News, even if you like hate Fox News, which like most people that I know don't like Fox News.
I'm
They are
glad.
killing it in the ratings because they are for a very specific person and they're not trying to be for everyone. And they really hone in on that demographic, and their demographic is loyal and they tune in. And I'm not saying they're great, but they're a good
Yeah.
example of someone who like, they're not trying to be for everyone and they're really thriving in a time when a lot of other cable news stations are losing audiences.
That's interesting news. Is like all it is what they're doing great, but with like things we don't necessarily agree with.
Yeah, it's not great, but they like know their values and they hone in
Yeah.
on it and they have a really loyal audience and they're still thriving, even though people are moving to streaming services and stuff. So even though they're not a great example for a lot of reasons because we don't agree with their politics, like they are a good example of like staying true to what you believe in and like honing in on those values and finding your audience. So hopefully you're going to use better values than they have, but you know, at the end of the day, they are a good example of a station that's really niched and doubled down and doubled down and doubled down. And
Yes.
now they have their threat. I mean, they're killing it with ratings.
Very cool. Speaking of that, we mentioned earlier a little bit of culture changes and the branding evolves. Have you noticing any new cool trends this upcoming year or even for the next years in terms of the colors, the fonts, the
Interesting.
personality, overall like big macro trends?
Yeah, I feel like I'm kind of like out of the trend world just because I'm 32 now and I have a baby and I like to just like I wear sweaters and like I'm cozy. But I feel like Euphoria is really like such a zeitgeist of what is like
Mm,
what the style is right now and like the tone right now.
like 90s kind of look.
Yeah, like 90s, but also like kind of internet. And I don't know how to even describe it, but like there's definitely like this fashion of like looking like you just rolled out of bed and you're malnourished, which I guess is 90s. Yeah. So that's kind of a trend. And from that, I think has come a lot of like bright colors and like kind
Mhm.
of weird fonts that are a bit illegible and just like the tone, it's just Gen Z, I guess, like those really bright colors, like checkered print, obviously. And I think we're moving away from gradients, which is kind of nice. I think we're really moving into some really bold, bright colors, which I think is nice. I'm all about color, so I love that for us. But yeah, I can't think of like specific trends. What have you noticed any specific trends? I try to like notice them, but not like over notice them because I don't want
Yeah,
to ever get sucked
influence
into
your work.
being
Yeah,
too
yeah,
trendy.
yeah. I
Oh,
definitely.
on Reels, there's like those like kind of dark fashion-y reels where girls are like walking through the street in like long leather jackets. Is that a trend? With to like music. Do you know what I'm talking about? They're like walking through like Paris and they have like black leather jackets on like they're in the Matrix. Anyway,
Oh, cool. I don't know if I've seen those.
I'll send you one. Fashion
And
reels.
It's
So
harder
trendy.
to keep up with all the cool like internet trends because there are just so many.
Yeah.
And then there's a lot of the people reference on it. Sometimes I notice the reference because I've seen that TikTok or that video. Otherwise, there's
Mm,
really no way you understand the reference unless you've seen these videos on the internet. But in terms
yeah.
of branding trends, I definitely feel like brighter, more contrasty colors.
Mm.
Um, Definitely moving away from all like the light, like more of a what is that called?
Millennial pink.
Yeah, but like in that whole series, like a very light color
Yeah.
palette. I'm losing my word for it.
Pastel.
Yeah, more like more vibrant instead of a more pastel, and it really shows up your personality. People like the show Euphoria, like people show crazy
Makeup.
beautiful
Yeah.
makeups and different type of cool like hairdos and long acrylic nails. This is such thing now, like this trend that like you open up your package, everybody's doing this with their long nails, everybody's
Oh,
doing this
okay.
the ASMR thing. It's a such it
Yeah.
become a more of like it's not even like you're not doing it for that purpose. This is just a thing people do. Like they just if they touch a surface, they have long nails, so they do this. I know
Oh,
this
I
with
need to watch
everybody.
that. I feel
Um,
like I'm a bit out of the trends because I don't go on TikTok that much. Because every time I do, I just get sucked into a like TikTok hole and I just watch like an hour goes by and I'm like, what? I'm like in finance bro TikTok and I'm like, how did I get here? Where am I? Like, whoa, it really sucks you into a hole. And I feel I have a little boy and I just
yeah,
try like when I'm not working, I try to just like be with him. So that means I might miss out on some of the trends, but I'm
which
okay
is
with.
fine. Yeah, I mean, you don't need get like we preached, we practice, right? You don't need to be everybody. You don't need to get
Yeah.
all the trends. You just have to like stay true to who your core values are.
Yeah, I'm
But
trying to be like out in the world more, you know what I mean? But I feel
yeah,
like
into the nature, the real world.
yeah, because I just got back to LA and I'm like, oh my God, it's so exciting to be back here. Like I feel like I'm back home. It had been like 4 years since I lived here. I had visited in between, but I feel really inspired again by my surroundings. And
Mhm.
I just want to like get out there and talk to people and see friends. And like after the pandemic and having a baby and being in Australia, I was like isolated for so long. I didn't realize. I just feel
Mhm.
like I've gotten here and I'm like, whoa, like I feel like myself again. Like this is so nice. So I'm excited to like get inspiration in real life too. I think that's important.
Totally. I actually have an idea. I have a question. How do you
Yeah.
stay focused to creating like a creative work? I'm
Mm.
sure during pandemic, we're all staying at home and there's still tons of distraction, especially you had a newborn that needs to feed him every few hours. How do you stay focused? Like what are your productivity tips for like
Mm.
designers or creators who just need sometimes a hyper focus on their craft without distractions?
Yeah, I've been going to a co-working space because my little boy is like now he's almost 2, so he's like getting that terrible 2 toddler phase. And when he's at home and I'm at home, like work just can't really get done. So just really like knowing what days that I can be focused because I need about like 3 or 4 hours to deep focus if I'm working on a creative project for a
Mhm.
client. And if I don't get that time, or if I'm distracted a lot, it's really not good. I
Yeah.
pause my inbox a lot. So I have this thing called Boomerang on my inbox.
Mhm.
And I can pause it for 2 hours at a time
Uh,
because I find email really distracting. I get emails all the time just asking me for little things. And then I'll be like, oh, I'll just do
mhm.
that really quick. And then I'm like, what was I doing? So if I am
Yeah.
doing creative work, like the notifications are off. And
Mm.
then what else? I listen to a Pomodoro playlist. So I make Pomodoro playlists. It's called Nootropics, Coming Up Roses / Nootropics. I create 2-hour playlists that follow the Pomodoro method. So it's like 25 minutes of music and then 5 minutes of pause. So
Mhm.
just every time it hits a pause, I take a break. So Pomodoro is awesome. And you can check out my playlist if you want to have some music when you're not
Yeah.
breaking.
Yeah.
I don't know, tons of things, to be honest. I'm very easily distracted. I'm very scattered. I'm very messy. I'm like not, I do all my calls. So I'll do like all of my sales
Yeah, I love
calls, because
that.
that's the other thing about like doing your own business. Not only do you have to do creative work and like Instagram and all of these things, but you also have to like do sales calls. And I have a
Mhm,
ton, like I get a lot of inquiries. So I do all of my calls on like Tuesdays and Thursdays, so that
mhm,
all other days I don't have any calls, because calls are really exhausting. I go on walks. And then also I've recently done a thing where I always hand in creative work on Fridays for my clients.
mhm,
So I always require them to give me feedback like Monday, Tuesday. Then I always do creative work, or my team. I have some people that work with me, contractors. We
mhm,
design on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and then I turn in the
mhm.
work on a Friday. So just
Yeah.
having that flow of work that I know I'm turning in creative work on Friday gives me the rest of the week to like get everything together. Because before I
And
was like handing things in all over the place.
yeah, and I love that because by giving yourself a timeline and you like setting up the boundary to your clients for expectation, be like, hey, these
Mhm.
are the days I am going to like re-editing your like feedbacks or whatever. If you don't turn it in by Monday, then I will be missing this. And that means like your these things will
Exactly.
be delayed for
It
the
goes
following.
a week late. Exactly. Because before
Yeah.
I would say hand it on a Tuesday, and then they'd get back to me on a Thursday, and then I try to work Friday, but I wouldn't get it done. And then I'm like, it's all over the place. So if you always say when you're signing up your client, you will get your deliverable on Fridays, or when we deliver creative work, then it gives you like, it just sets up expectations of when to expect feedback. Because I found
Mhm,
that in the past, delays in projects have really been around feedback. And then if they delay feedback getting to me, then I'm delayed getting back to them. And then it's like a vicious cycle. And then when one
mhm,
client project gets behind, they all get behind. So
mm,
then it's there. Yeah, it just gets really messy, which
yeah.
happens a lot. But,
Yeah. Yeah.
what can you do?
So you also do a lot of cool like templates and you do I know you've recently launched with another studio a set of course launching templates, correct?
Hmm. Yeah.
And
So
then
I'm really, oh, go ahead. Sorry.
go ahead.
No,
Yeah, no,
ask
I was just
ask the rest of your question. Sorry.
oh no, I was just gonna say that you also have, I think, like some Figma templates, you have Notion templates, and you
Yeah.
have a sales page, a Squarespace template. What
Yeah.
other things you have I'm not mentioning?
Um, I think that's it for templates. I have a like a Reels template. So if you want to learn really quickly how to create like a Reels in Premiere,
Oh yeah.
I have a template for that. So my ideal clients are creators, people who are like in the creative economy. They are making a living from either service or product or a bit of both. Someone like Taylor Loren, she has like her Reels course. She has some products. She's also a consultant for marketing. And she has brand partnerships, and she came to me and was like, I really want my brand to stand out. I want to have like a clear
Mm,
brand identity, because I think that that will like really help me as my business grows. So I'm like, it's kind of doing personal branding, but um, it's also helping people like just with their whole creative ecosystem. So because they're creators, a lot of them need launch templates around like their course launches or sales pages around their products or courses or services. So that's kind of why I've started to come out with these templates. I think like, what do creators need? They need easy templates to organize their lives. They need easy templates to what's the word? Like just create a website quickly, or
right, right.
a
Have
quick
these two on their
brand.
fingertips so they can
Yeah, or
like
like
plug
what
in and
we
play.
totally plug and play, or like what we worked on together, which was like my brand refresh package, which is just like a quick brand refresh. It's not like a massive like 2-month branding where you get like all the bells and whistles. It's just like social media, colors, fonts, a logo. Um,
Mhm.
and so that's kind of what I was working on with Taylor. And that's who my ideal client is. And that's why over the next year, you'll see a lot more things rolling out from Coming Up Roses that are specifically for creators. And then I'm going to pivot like more of my custom projects into another studio that I'm launching in the next month or so. And that's a collaboration with another designer. And that's going to be like targeting more high-end brands.
Yeah.
So yeah, Coming Up Roses is kind of pivoting. And I'm kind of revisiting a lot of the work in my brand botany course because I'm like, okay, well, what is my tone of voice now that I'm really niching down, and like what are the conversations I'm having on social if I'm trying to connect with creators? Whereas before I was being very broad, I think, just because I was just starting out and trying to just get clients and try to figure out who I wanted to work with. Now I'm like I love working with creators. They're also creative. They're people like you, Claire, who are like so brilliant, have such a good eye. It's just so much fun to collaborate with people like that. So I'm really excited for this next phase of Coming Up Roses.
I love that. I love that you kind of like find your niche in terms of like creating like what type of a group of people I am specifically doing design for. And then I love that you kind of like reanalyzing who that person is for you, and then you probably went through some of the process you went through with your course, right? Asking yourself all these questions, and it's just such a good tool to have on hand, because maybe like every couple of years you kind of have to ask those questions again, try to like, you know, updating either your clientele or your target market, whatever that means to you.
Yes.
So you have this guidebook you can download, people can download from the course. Can you talk a little bit more? How can people use that as like a tool or a guidebook?
Yeah, it's essentially like a brand book that like throughout the course, I take you through filling out each part of the brand book. So each module, I think there's 6, has a different part of the brand book, and I take you through each one. So it's like the first one's all about I think it's all about like your purpose and your vision. Then we go into audience and positioning and content. So it's really like every foundational piece of your brand, really getting into who you are and why you exist and who you're trying to reach, and then creating a bit of a content plan to reach those people at the end. So yeah, that's the botany book is what I call it, but it's essentially a brand book, and it's for people who want to like DIY that work, but also have a guide, me kind of taking you through each module.
Yeah, and I think it's good to have that on hand when you are hiring anybody else, you know, for either like a copywriting work or just any work related for your brand. And it's good to show them that, so they know they don't like start from scratch, or they have some sort of guidance to work with. So it's really good to have that, and it's good to like update that like every year too. Something
exactly. I'm such a good example of someone who like, you know, my first year I was really like
trying more things,
trying to figure out. Yeah, I worked with all kinds of people. I worked with big businesses like Girl Boss. I worked with small one women businesses. I worked with like Reiki healers, and I worked with you know, tech companies. So I like kind of ran the gamut. I always had a vibe, and I think people hire me more based on my like aesthetic and my vibe. But after doing all of that kind of work, I was like, okay, well, I feel like I want to really niche down, and this is the kind of person I definitely want to work with. And so now it's been like a repositioning from like being very kind of like, I just cultivate your creative ecosystem, to even now being like, I need to do this work again and figure out really who I'm talking to, and my new tone and my new products and my new services to match that. So it's really important work, but it's definitely not set in stone. You can revisit it every year, and you should revisit it often. Just, I think it's really powerful in business to always ask yourself, like, what's working, what's not working? Am I happy? If I'm not happy, why? What would make me happy? So
yeah, I love that. I love that. For the, you know, because you're sort of like a positioning, like want to work with more creators, and and then we know that we're in such like a creator economies and everybody want to be a creator these days. Do you have any advice for people who are, this might be like a general question, could it be a little bit vague, but do you have any advice in general for creator, they can cut through the noise and stand out among others, because there's just so many people are trying to make it, and
Yeah.
also like in a I don't know, like in maybe in a more of like a ethical way, because I feel like there's a lot of people trying to like get the views, generating buzz, but like the content they put out there sometimes it's not really quality contents. You can tell they just want the views, which that
Yeah.
could get you views temporarily, but I feel like for the longevity of your career, I don't know if that's a good idea. So I wonder if you have any good suggestions for creators creating a brand or voice,
Yeah, that's a great question. I think someone like Taylor is such a great example. She's gone from working for big companies to being a full-time creator. She's someone who like really knows who she's talking to, really knows what she's interested in and owns it. She like
Mhm.
owns who she is and her
Yeah.
expertise, and she's super relatable and real. I think that she's someone who's consistent. So it goes back to that like consistent and persistent stories. I think that's
Mhm.
so important with being a creator with longevity, because
Mhm.
yeah, you can be a creator and get a lot of views, but like, how do you leverage that into brand partnerships? Like Taylor
Mhm.
has, she like makes tons of money now because she works with massive brand partners. How do you leverage that into products like Taylor has into like the Reels course and stuff? Like,
Mhm.
um, so kind of always thinking like, yes, it's great to have a lot of views, but like, what does that actually mean? And like, what's my point of view and how can I like really cultivate a loyal audience who will then like want to purchase from me, learn from me, grow with me. So yeah, I think it kind of just goes back to all that foundational work again of like, what's your point of view, who are you trying to reach, and like showing up consistently and being yourself, because I think people can really sense when you're not being yourself online.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. And I love you use the example of Taylor Lauren, because I follow her personal page. It's really, she posts a lot of like really like personal stuff, like the show she's watching and her like personal thoughts about like a pop culture events and things like
Yes,
that.
exactly.
Which it's really entertaining to watch. And then I also feel like as a marketer, she utilized a lot of pop culture into her marketing materials.
Exactly.
So that's just type of thing she naturally needs to watch and to in order to like, because it's a part of marketing, and then the pop culture is huge for marketing these days too. So I love that she kind of like naturally integrated that part into her personal life, and then it also makes sense for her professional work. So that's sometimes like it's harder for people to kind of figure that out, like what type of personal content I should post on my personal page, but that also makes sense for my professional work, right? Because
Right.
you don't want to like post a lot of really personal stuff that it really does not related to your profession in any way. I think it would be just
Yeah.
um, I don't know, like some people do, but I also feel like there is art behind it. There's like
Totally.
purpose
I think
behind it,
it,
what you share and why you share it.
yeah, I think it's good to study the people who are doing it really well and like, take notes. So people like Taylor Loren or people like Puno, people like I'm sure there's a million others that I can't think of
I feel
right
like you
now,
do
but
it
like,
really well too.
oh,
I
thank
like
you.
watch,
That's so nice.
yeah, I watch your stories and stuff. I think you're really purpose driven, like stuff you post, and you're pretty
Yeah.
consistent too, which it really
Mm,
takes a certain person and then a personality to do that, because it's
yeah.
easy to do it every once in a while, but it's harder to do it every single day. And everybody who I know is succeeding in the game is the people who are actually showing up every day. Like Taylor literally put like 15 stories every single day. I'm like, wow, I
Yeah.
respect that. It's
Yeah.
hard. It's
Yeah.
not easy to do that every single
It
day.
is
But
hard.
you do
It's
it.
funny because so many people are always like, how do you grow your business so fast? And I'm like, you have to be salesy. Like you have to sell. Yeah. And not like do it in your own voice. Like I'm not out there like call 1-800 coming up roses and sign up for $9.99. Like I'm just like, this is how you can work with me. This is how I've transformed other people's businesses. Like this is what I'm about, this is what I value, like you, but at the same time you close the loop. You're not just like, I'm not just going to like share a picture of Neil, you know what I mean? It's like
Right, right.
I'd say like I get to have this lifestyle where like I get to be a present mom because I've grown my audience in my business, and I can help you do that too through like strong branding and strong brand voice the way that I have. So it's like everything has to have a purpose. You can't just be like, here's my latte. But it takes practice, it takes
It
practice,
is.
and it takes yeah, it does take consistency. And like a lot of people who ask, they don't want to be salesy, and I'm like, well then don't start a business,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
just
Honestly, sales
go
is
to your
like,
9 to 5, because like
yeah,
if you want to start your own business, the most important thing is making sales.
totally. That's like the one thing you have to learn, the sales skills. Like we all have it in us. As
Mhm.
entrepreneurs or people who have their own business, that's a huge important, like the most, if anything, is the most important skill you need to have.
Yeah.
um
And I literally love doing it. Like I have a launch coming up next. I'm relaunching my sales page template later this month. And I'm like, I've been planning out the masterclass, and I've been like planning out the sales page and all of the content. And it's so fun. I'm like you have to almost enjoy it, or else working for
yeah,
yourself is going to be a punish. And like, it's just not, it really isn't for everybody. I think that like a lot of people want to do it, but I think it does take a specific personality type that like enjoys putting themselves out there and selling
yeah,
and being marketing and connecting with people. I think that's my favorite part, like connecting with you and
yeah,
Taylor. And I have
yeah.
clients in the UK and in Australia and in South America and Canada. And it's so cool to work with people around the world.
Yeah, I love that. I love that you can be able to, you're able to like work with people internationally that what you wouldn't know normally have no business with. And all of a sudden
Exactly.
you're super hyper connected. And I love having these conversations because I am learning. I feel like I'm keeping up with the what's happening, and also it's eye-opening experiences, because every time you
Hmm.
exchange informations with other creators, you kind of it is really good to be, how do I say this, it's inspiring to be continue creating the stuff, and also very encouraging to learn the successful stories from each other, or
Yeah.
yeah, or like the not successful stories, because it's also a learning part of learning as well.
Totally. Oh my gosh, I've had so many fails in the last couple of years, but yeah, I feel like I've learned a lot from them. And also like supporting each other's businesses. Like,
It's very
um,
important. Yeah.
yeah, like I can't wait to like buy my Modelier furniture, or like buy Taylor's next course, or collaborate with her on, we're going to collaborate on some templates in the next couple of months. And just,
So
yeah, it's really
exciting.
fun. It's like these people you meet on the internet, and then they become like your friends and your business partners and your, um, yeah, and you like support each other. And it's a really awesome community of people.
Yeah, and then we got to meet each other in person a couple
I
weeks ago.
know.
That was so cool. I
So
loved it.
fun. I love
Yeah, I
that little
wish,
cafe.
I know, I wish we live a little bit closer so we can like co-work or like, do that kind of thing more often.
Maybe if you
Um,
come to LA.
yeah, maybe I will visit. We'll see what
Yeah,
happens.
you never know. I can see you here. Got to get your hubby on board.
Well, thank you so much for today. I really, really appreciate it. I love the conversation we had, and it's always a pleasure to chat with you because I always
Yeah.
get like really rejuvenated after our chat because you have such a good energy and you always on the go and creating new things, partnering with new peoples, and I really respect and admire that part of you.
Thank
Um,
you.
yeah, I
Same
love that.
goes.
Thank you so much.
I can't wait for
Um,
my new LA house and my new Modelier pieces that I'm going to get for it.
all right, thank you so
Awesome.
much.
Thanks, Claire. This was fun. It was good to chat.